Bucky's Basement. Bucky's Basement.
Welcome to this week's episode of Bucky's Basement. I'm Bucky, and as always, in the basement with me today, I have Old Boy.
Oh my God, guns.
And Juicebox.
Beep, boop, boop.
And we are back for another episode of Casting Cage. That's where we're going to throw Nick in the cage and review another one of his movies in chronological order. If I'm not mistaken, we are up to his third and final film of 1994. Prior to this was It Could Happen to You. Prior to that was Guarding Tess. Those are the two movies he recorded in 1994 or filmed. And we are up to 1994's November release of Trapped in Paradise.
And he was doing so good.
He was doing so good. You're absolutely right. Before that, we came out of movies like we didn't really like Amos and Andrew. At least I didn't. I know you guys thought it was all right. Red Rock West, killer movie.
Dude, so good.
So good. Then
So
we get
slept on, like the fact that it never came out on anything except for what, HBO or whatever.
Yeah. Then we get into Deadfall, which he plays that weird character with the mustache and the glasses.
Awful.
But that is quintessential Nick Cage right there.
It
That is let this man go wild, and this is what you get.
Yeah. Then we started to get into the Nick Cage that we didn't think that we would appreciate as much as we did. And that's this 1994 run of Guarding Tess, where Nick Cage plays a Secret Service agent, in charge of guarding an ex-president's wife.
Right.
And then we get into It Could Happen to You, where he meets Bridget Fonda, and he gets a winning lottery ticket and has to deal with Rosie Perez's bullshit.
Yeah.
And now we're up to 1994's Trapped in Paradise, which is a comedy, starring. Obviously everybody, if you haven't seen this, you might have seen the movie poster where it's Nick Cage, Dana Carvey, and Jon Lovitz. So I'm guessing we're riding Nick Cage and we're grabbing a couple people from Saturday Night Live who were really popular at the time.
Right.
And we're recording a movie.
Yeah, I feel like you described this cast to me, and I'm like, I'm in.
Right?
I think this is going to be a hilarious movie. Especially at this point in Nick Cage's career, like he's already kind of proven that he has a little bit of comedy chops.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think he does. Yeah, he's proficient at comedy mostly.
Well, good for you.
And-
this movie has a whopping 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
I feel like I haven't seen this movie before, and I was kind of excited about seeing it, and then I saw 10% on Rotten Tomatoes, and it's like, that is discouraging.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a reason we haven't seen it.
I thought
There
I
really
had
is.
seen it.
Really?
I thought I'd seen it too, but I did not remember anything from it.
Let's be honest. There are a ton of Christmas movies out there, and
cult
classics, right?
Christmas
Just
movies.
like everything from Home Alone to
Die Hard,
Miracle on 34th Street,
Gremlins.
I just so many Christmas movies. Noel. That's one you really liked, right?
Bullshit.
But we're talking about Grinch. We're talking about
Family Vacation.
Yes. Everything.
Christmas Vacation. Yeah, you name it.
What's the one about Pottertown?
It's a
30
Wonderful Life.
Life. That's your favorite movie.
Yeah, you used to talk about it so much on the
That
last
is
podcast.
Muppets Christmas Carol. There's so
Everything.
many. Yeah, everything.
Even Christmas with the Cranks gets played, right? Four Christmases gets played on like TNT, TBS
The
around
Santa
that time.
Claus, yeah.
All these movies get played, but I think, and Just Friends, like that's a Christmas movie. I think Trapped in Paradise somehow got lost in the shuffle.
Is excluded from the club.
100%. I was thinking about that on the drive over here. I was like, this is a Christmas movie, and no one has ever said it's a Christmas.
They do
no
not
one
bring it up.
Yeah.
Ever. Before we get into Trapped in Paradise, and we're going to review.
Blackballed from Christmas cult movies. Damn.
You fucked up so bad that we're not even going to air you. I don't get it. Maybe it was the R rating on it.
I get it.
But I think
This was rated R?
it's definitely rated R with the cussing that's going on by the mom, and sometimes Dana Carvey drops some cuss words. Some of the escaped convicts drop cuss words.
But the cuss words are like hell.
Yeah,
no.
There's
It's
no
more intense in there.
motherfuckers or nothing in
I
there.
heard some goddams. I heard some
Okay.
things that probably
but
weren't
that's still
used in 90.
PG-13.
Yeah.
Maybe it's PG-13. I would have to look it up.
I bet it is. But
All
it's so hard to tell nowadays.
Before we get into the movie, we like to go through the director. The director of this movie is George Gallo, which randomly enough has not directed that. I mean, he directed about 19 films. You've heard of maybe one of them, and I wrote it down. Double Take, starring Eddie Griffin.
If you just said Jean-Claude Van Damme, I would have believed you.
Exactly, right? He is credited as the writer and creator of the story for Bad Boys, though. The Will Smith,
shit.
Martin Lawrence.
Oh, because
Yeah.
it was supposed to star Dana Carvey and Jon Lovitz originally.
There's no way.
Fucking that is true. That is
There
true.
is-
I can't tell if you're being serious
That's
now.
a true. That's not an old boy fact. That's a real fact.
Okay, so this director is also more well known as an accomplished impressionist painter than directing.
What?
Yes, I went
missed
down a
that
rabbit
fact.
hole, and he was highly awarded as an impressionist painter. So much so, more so awarded than being a director or writer for anything. All right, before we get into, hold on, I gotta look at this. Oh, old boy's passing me something. Who was originally casted for Bad Boys? In the film's early stages of development, Simpson and Bruckheimer initially envisioned Dana Carvey and Jon Lovitz in the roles.
Imagine, and this movie probably tanked that.
When the
Fuck yeah,
hold
it did.
on. When the film was written for Carvey and Lovitz, the original titles for Bad Boys was Bulletproof Hearts, which
Turned into
is
Bulletproof?
Bulletproof with Adam Sandler and Damon Wayans.
Damn.
So that's how Hollywood works.
Wow.
All right, let's go through the cast of this movie really quick before we get into it. Bill in this movie is the main character. He's played by, obviously,
Nick Cage, right?
our boy Wonder.
Our boy.
Yeah, Nick Cage. His brothers, Alvin and Dave, are played by Dana Carvey and Jon Lovitz. And let's talk about it for a minute.
Let's.
I fucking love Jon Lovitz.
Straight
So-
up.
Like, I love John. I don't know what it is about his mannerisms, the way he talks, the way he articulates. I fucking love Jon Lovitz.
I do too.
In this movie, you love Jon
It
Lovitz?
doesn't matter.
Anytime.
Really?
In this movie, I love Jon Lovitz.
See, I feel like he's wasted in this movie.
But he also shines. Even though he's kind of like dumbed down, he still shines in this movie.
I think
me.
he plays the perfect liar. He plays the perfect,
He
like,
does.
the criminal liar.
Yeah.
And, like, the guy who's just like, who, me? Like, you know.
Yeah, I just feel, I don't know. He could have done so much more in this movie, I felt like.
All right, so let's talk about Dana Carvey, because
Oh,
this is one of
God.
the biggest comedians of all time, one of the biggest impressionists of all time, in my opinion. Saturday Night Live, Hall of Famer,
Yeah.
you know, been in a ton of films, and he's in this, and
Has
he's
he been
got
in a ton of films?
he's got kind of a accent in this.
Oh, he definitely has
Oh.
an accent.
He's got a thing going on.
He
that
definitely
he's-
has a thing going on.
that he's trying, but he's young Dana Carvey.
He is, and he just misses the mark. Maybe it's his character. Maybe he nails his character, but the character just is not good.
No, the character is not good. And I feel like he is supposed to be the comic relief of the movie, right? Like, he is supposed to be
Yeah.
the funny person that makes you
Yes.
laugh.
Yeah.
And he did not do that for me at all in this movie.
No, I mean, I know. In all honesty, I didn't laugh at all. But
Can I bring up a different point?
oh, please,
I watched this all the
please.
way through the first time because Juicebox had seen it before me, and Juicebox mentioned that he hated Dana Carvey in the movie as he was walking away in our conversation. It's
Okay.
like in a movie, like he's walking away and he's just like, you know what, fuck Dana Carvey in this movie, and just keeps going. Like, he leaves me with a cliffhanger. I hadn't even seen it yet.
Okay.
So now I have this this thing that I'm going into Trapped in Paradise,
Right.
thinking I'm gonna hate Dana Carvey. And the first pass through, I've watched this movie twice. First pass through,
Amazing.
not so good, but tolerable. Second pass through, I fucking love Dana Carvey.
Oh, my
I
God.
loved his character in this.
Dude,
You're
I had
on
to
your
like
own.
go down a rabbit hole and look at like other stuff that he'd been in, and it's like he hasn't been in that much shit, and I think it's because he's not really that fucking funny, man. Like he's
Like,
a,
is
he's
this
a fun,
sketch-
he's a funny dude. I'm not
he's a
trying to
funny dude.
discount. I just don't think he's not funny in this movie, and he's not maybe as big of a star as you think he
Well,
is.
maybe you're just not cut out for like Hollywood, like movies, like because I mean,
Chris Kattan, like
Sure,
a
yeah.
lot of like
Yeah,
a lot of people that came out of Saturday Night Live.
Sure.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
true.
maybe he just doesn't have that type of power. But I'm with you, man. He's been in Wayne's World, and that may be all I've seen him in.
Yeah. He had that movie that came out where it was called The Master of Disguise, and it was like supposed to be his big like
The
movie.
Turtle movie.
His
Yeah.
Austin Powers.
Yeah, his Austin Powers, but he played a bunch of different characters or whatever. And
Right.
It just like flopped. Majorly.
He had that Dana Carvey show in the early '90s. They got canceled really quick because there were
Also
some
flopped.
offensive sketches in there. But I think he's a sketch comedy genius.
He is
I think the
funny.
last time we saw Dana Carvey was on that like something like Who Wants to Be a Comedian show or something. It's like you guys don't watch network television, but it was like people going up there and trying to be comedians. He was one of the
Okay.
judges
Oh, gotcha,
on it
okay.
or whatever.
Yeah.
All right, back into Trapped in
Well, hold
Paradise.
on. I want to give him some praise though, because like
Okay.
on SNL, like Church Lady and some of the things he did on there, he's great.
Sure.
So
Yeah, and I agree with all that. I agree with that. I think he was super hilarious on Saturday Night Live. I just don't
Right.
think like his movie career has been as great as maybe you guys think it has been.
yeah,
And this has to be one of the first ones. I mean,
Probably.
let's be
You're probably
honest.
right.
Like they were testing him out in this, and he went for this. How do you say that? Like it's not accent, whole persona of somebody.
Yeah, it was almost like he was like borderline like on the spectrum or something.
yeah,
Sure.
definitely. Yeah, it's even. I mean, they don't.
Because they
even-
make a joke. They make a lot of. We're
Well,
going
they
to
just
call it
call people-
disabled for this podcast, but we're not
Right.
using the word that they used back then.
right.
Yeah, which
but-
they used multiple times.
multiple
Correct.
times.
I've
And-
got a note about that.
And there's multiple characters that have some type of like disability, and I don't know. I was starting to wonder if there's like a sub theme here of.
Of making fun of people with disabilities.
Yeah.
I think there was that sub theme.
Let's run through the rest of the cast real quick before we get into the movie. Donald Moffat is in this, who plays the bank owner, and I'm pretty sure he's the old guy in Airplane. Is that right?
Oh my God, it's not him, but damn, he does look like that guy.
Is it not him?
no.
No, that's not him.
It's not Leslie Nielsen, but the
The
pilot.
Guy, no, the guy that puts the thing through his ears. It looks like him, but
I
that's
could
not
have
him.
swore that was him.
Oh my God, it looks.
Okay,
like
so
him. Maybe it is
let's
him.
talk about a lookalike because I thought the main guy and the escaped convicts in this kind of looked a lot like Vic, the guy, or not Vic, but the guy who orchestrates the Reservoir Dogs.
It does look like him.
But I was thinking of
yeah.
this, but Reservoir Dogs came out that same year, so it couldn't have been him.
I know. It also looked like Elaine's dad. I think that's the same guy, but it looks like that guy.
Yeah. All right. Donald Moffat's in this as the bank
Lloyd
owner.
Bridges is
It's
who-
Lloyd Bridges. He
Anyway,
looks a lot
sorry.
like Lloyd Bridges.
Kinda.
Let's go through a couple more before we get into a big one. Joe Pesci's brother is in this movie.
Is he the other henchman?
He's the other escaped convict.
I
Okay.
see it now.
And then the cop from Beverly Hills Cop that is
Oh,
the
yeah.
guy who partners with Judge Reinhold.
the other
Other cop in Beverly Hills Cop.
I did note that.
I'm so glad you guys got that too.
He's one of the deputies in this.
and that is an unhinged character.
So I'm starting to
Right.
put together the Nick Cage like multiverse, and like it's just starting to be like, all right, Judge Reinhold was in this. This guy's in this. Like, are we all talking to Nick Cage? Is he trying to help all of his like D or C and D actors out and like throw them in movies?
The Fed agent is the lawyer, and it could happen to you.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah. That's
Shit, you're
yeah.
right.
His name is Richard Jenkins.
Oh, that's what you're talking about.
So that is exactly what I was going to bring up next. That is the finale of the cast, in my opinion, which is Richard Jenkins, who, in my opinion, or my thought is his most famous role was the dad in Step Brothers.
That's probably his most recent famous role,
Most
but I feel
recent.
like it seems like he's popping up in a lot of shit in the 90s.
Yeah, he was one of the dads in Bill and Ted's, right?
Oh yes,
Yeah,
he
yeah,
was.
yeah.
We
You're-
brought that
You're
up last
absolutely
time.
right. So Richard Jenkins, last time, so he's been in multiple Cage movies. So
Yeah, that was it could happen to you.
oh yeah, I guess that was the last one we did.
Yeah,
Richard's coming up. I wonder if he's
Maybe
going to
they're
be in the
buddies.
next few.
Maybe they're buddies.
All right, before we get into deep diving into Trapped in Paradise, which is the 1994 George Gallo film, we like to do a segment on Casting Cage in which we call
Plot by Juicebox.
Residents of a friendly Pennsylvania town foil three brothers' plans to rob a bank on Christmas Eve.
Not really.
Not really. They don't foil.
There's a lot more than the residents that are
They
trying
rob
to
the
foil this
bank.
plan. They do rob the
Rob the
bank.
bank.
Like, the bank's pretty robbed.
Yeah. They just keep dim-wittingly coming back to the same fucking town.
Yeah, which we can talk about. But
Yep.
so
Red Rock West.
yeah, exactly. So my description, my plot is three brothers, one bank, 1 hour and 50 minutes. Welcome to paradise.
So actually, that's a good tagline.
It is a good
This
tagline.
movie was so long.
It's. I think I texted these guys and I said I now know why comedies are about an hour and a half on average these days. This was an hour and 50 minutes, which we all I think agree at this table that it is way too long for a comedy or this movie.
It was
'Cause
too
I
long
think-
for this movie.
This movie.
I think even it's too long for a comedy these days because you got so many jokes you can tell, right?
Well, this
You're not-
movie was light on the comedy. Let's be honest.
Yeah, dude.
like it.
Maybe in '94 it was heavy on the comedy, and we just hadn't got to the point where we're at yet.
Yeah, it's probably why it got that 10%. So comedic.
That is true. All right, so we open Trapped in Paradise. It's Christmas in New York. You know, we get every fucking movie that we've been watching from 88 to 94. It's like, it's got to open with, let's paint a picture of the background. And it's starting to get under my skin. And maybe all movies do this. Maybe I just don't notice it. But I'm just tired of like the camera panning off the screen onto this busy 6-lane road where it's just cabs stopped and people running across the road and like all right, tell me it's Christmas in New York, you know, it's snowing.
I feel like if they hadn't done that, you'd have been like, well, you know, I didn't even know it was Christmas.
That's not true because
Or
anybody
New
can say,
York.
hey, happy Christmas, or a fucking guy jingling a bell trying to get change on the side of the road. I mean, it's fucking.
Well, it starts with like a wallet getting kicked around, right?
Well,
Yeah.
it pans over Christmas in New York, and I put dropped wallet kicked around. Finally gets to Nick Cage down. Like this whole wallet scene is, you know, just one of those quirky things that you would see again in the early 90s.
Yeah.
Cameras following around a wallet. Nobody's noticing because there's so many people hustling and bustling about on the streets.
Yeah.
So it gets
Gimmicky.
kicked down into a subway.
Which
And
there's a callback to later on in the movie.
Yeah.
Yep, and it gets kicked down into a subway. Nick Cage picks up the wallet, and this is one of my favorite things. It starts off, and I just start writing notes. I don't know if I'm high or if I've had too many to drink or what, but I had to write notes. I was like, it looks like he's gonna go to a hidden place, and then he just immediately stops and backs up and puts his back against the wall and opens it and starts like it's like his intentions were to like get away from this
He's having a moral dilemma
immediately.
Yeah.
immediately, right? Yeah. he
Just
finds
like
it.
every Nick Cage character, like has a moral upstanding character,
Yep.
which I thought he was going to be this entire movie. So I didn't know which direction it was going to go
That's
from
true.
this point. You know, I was like, okay, he's the straight man. He's
Yeah.
the good guy. Like
Yeah.
he's
Yep. And we see that within 30 seconds of the movie
There's
opening.
an internal struggle.
Yeah.
We've,
Right.
we've got a conscience, right? Conscience
Right.
is present. And then he takes his wallet and goes, what was the first thing he does? Goes to a church, to a priest to talk about it,
to
right?
confess. To confess.
And
Yeah.
he hadn't been there in
Thinking-
5 years.
To confess thinking about taking the money, but he mailed it back to the guy.
Yeah.
So he's confessing just the thought of not being right.
And this is where comedy comes into play because when he goes into the confession booth, you see on the other side of the screen the priest is doing a crossword and not paying attention. But he
Right.
also knows that Nick Cage hadn't been there in 5 years, so he's basing this off a voice that he hadn't heard in 5 years. Some of this stuff with
Yeah.
this confession and Catholicism, I just don't understand.
Yeah, I wasn't clear on half of it.
Yeah, but you know, we see a major character build here through this entire opening scene, right? He's better, he's a good guy, like you said. He wants to give the wallet back. He sends the wallet back. He goes to confess about it.
Right.
You can tell that there has been some sort of past. Maybe. You're starting to get a feel for that.
So I was confused about that. Do they allude to that? Because if they do, I feel like I missed it.
Well, yeah, I think he's saying like I thought about it because I can.
Because I used to be
a
that criminal.
way. Yeah.
Yep.
And from there we jump to his brothers
immediately. Like his brothers are on the parole board. We got Nick Cage confesses to a priest for almost, stealing money out of a wallet, but he sends it back. Then we're cutting over to his brothers on the parole board. We meet Alvin and Dave. Alvin is played by Dana Carvey, and he is a kleptomaniac. And my note was, I'm really high and Dana Carvey is cracking me up. And then we get Dave, who is a criminal and a liar.
Pathological
liar. Yeah. And then I wrote, I love Jon fucking Lovitz.
I do love him too, man. I mean, you guys are swinging me on him a little bit. Like, I still feel like he could have done more in this movie, or maybe just needed to be a bigger character or something.
Probably.
But I don't know.
Yeah,
it felt like he was wasted.
This is early SNL. This is like Jon Lovitz is still trying to get his chops up under him.
I think he's probably like off SNL at this point.
Probably
because he was the '80s SNL.
Okay.
Yeah, that's true. And
then maybe he was dialed back because he is released in SNL.
Yeah. He's over the top. I love the dude. Like, he's hilarious, and that's why I was so excited. Like when I saw the cast initially.
Same.
So we learn that the brothers are getting out of prison because there's some mishap and there's overcrowding in the prisons, and they're going to release people early, right? So these guys are petty criminals. They're just going to release them out of jail. That's where we find the fact that Bill is brothers with these guys because he goes and picks them up.
Real quick, though, I love the fact that their parole hearing is both of them together at the
same time.
Like, at the same time. Like, that's so convenient.
Everything in this movie is just unbelievable.
It's a movie.
It's over the top. So Bill greets them, who is played by Nick Cage. He greets his brothers Alvin and Dave outside the jail where they're released. We immediately learn that Bill pretty much hates his brothers, and he loves doing the right thing.
Yeah.
And
does he hate his brothers?
I don't think
he hates his brothers. I think he's annoyed, or it's one of two things. It's either he doesn't like them around, or he knows that he's going to be tempted into their lifestyle if they are around.
Or tricked, which is, I wrote down, I was like, man, Jon Lovitz is clearly running Nick Cage. So I also made a note. I think he hates them. I think you may be right, because I think I would hate them. And I wrote down that the two brothers are like the dog henchmen in Who Framed Roger Rabbit. Yep. Like, they're like giggling, and maybe they're high because they're just kind of like laughing. And I'm like, this is so dumb. Like, I don't know what's happening.
Dana Carvey especially, as the kleptomaniac. Like, we established that he will steal anything.
Yeah.
Right off the bat, like right after this scene, when they're in the car and they're going to their mom's house. And this is where we meet Mom, who I think is the best character in the whole movie.
I wrote that down, that exact same thing.
Do y'all think she looked like Ernest P. Worrell dressed up as a woman?
In some scenes.
Oh, maybe a little bit.
As the old lady. You know
like
who I'm
Ernest goes to jail.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
Yeah. I was like, is that Ernest?
It could be. I think you're absolutely right on that. But we get back to Mom's apartment. Mom's like cooking them dinner. They're all doing stuff. And then the letter comes out, which kind of like sets this whole movie off, right?
Yeah.
I said the letter exonerating, which is not even the right word, for them to get them to go to Paradise, Pennsylvania. So in this letter that Jon Lovitz presents to the mom, hopefully being overread by Nick Cage, which he already threw the letter out the window and conveniently had another one, right? So this is a fucking work.
Right. It's a work.
So he gets the mom to read this letter about this guy in prison who his daughter won't see him, and his one of his wishes is to get his daughter to come see him on Christmas. So he's asking these escaped convicts who cannot leave the state of New York to leave the state to go find his daughter just to say, hey, will you go see your dad on Christmas?
Yeah.
Again, unbelievable stuff going on in this movie.
I mean, in the early 90s, if you were on parole, you could probably leave the state, right? You didn't have an ankle monitor. You could just be like, leave for the weekend. And if you're a criminal, you're like, yeah, of course I'll do that. Maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, but in the letter at the end, it's not like I'll pay you or thank you for doing this. It's like, if I get out of this jail, I'm going to kill you if you don't do this. So this letter starts with this sad story. It's
it's got coercion at the end of it.
Yeah, at the end, it's like, I'll fucking kill you if you don't do this. So then they convince Nick Cage is not convinced, right? He knows his brothers are bullshitters.
Right.
So he's like, I'm not doing this. And then he goes to his job, which we still haven't decided whether he's a maitre d', he's a waiter, he's a manager, what is he in this restaurant?
I don't know, because he was describing what was in the ingredients of this fish dish, and I was like, that ain't fucking ingredients, man.
It's like ingredients my wife uses in our kitchen. It's not a fancy restaurant.
I was like, no, that's how you make deviled eggs, not not whatever it was he was making.
I thought he was the restaurant manager, but I could have been wrong about that.
You're right.
I think you're right. And then we see Jon Lovitz's brother, Dave, show up, and then the next trick happens. It's basically, this is the Sting. It's just like the reverse Sting. It's a bunch of stuff going on that's all tricks and misdirection and sleight of hand and whatever. So Jon Lovitz comes in and tricks Bill that the cops are coming after him.
Yeah.
Right, because earlier didn't they run into the police earlier?
They did in the bodega or whatever it was.
Right.
They were they holding it up or no?
Stealing?
No, it was when he was stealing the money. It was when Dana Carvey was stealing the money, and then the people came out of the back and started calling for the police.
That's
which you
right.
end up finding out was all an elaborate plot.
Right. All a plot.
Set up.
Whole thing.
And then, so Nick Cage drops his quote-unquote wallet at the scene, but really Dana Carvey had stolen his wallet and kept it. We found out at the end of the movie. That's a long con in the movie. It's like, what? So they quote-unquote rescue Bill from the cops. And I wrote down, this is an elaborate plan. And then the very next scene we see is they go to a phone booth where Jon Lovitz is calling all three of their moms. And Nick Cage, after I wrote down, this is an elaborate plan. This is no joke, you guys. Within 30 seconds in the movie, Nick Cage says the words, "This is an elaborate plan." And I was
You're right. He calls him
holy
out.
shit.
He's like, "You're screwing me right now. I know you are. You're behind all this, and you're just gonna act innocent." And Jon Lovitz is like, "Who, me?"
Yeah.
Classic.
Oh, the who me, and that's where we get the first Nick Cage outrage, I think. In the car right there where he wants to go home for Christmas. We get a couple of classic Cage outbursts in this movie. And I wish I had sound clips for him, because we're going to get into this in just a second, but they finally convince Nick Cage, Bill and Alvin convince Nick Cage to go to Paradise, Pennsylvania. And they are on the road to Paradise, and the first thing that they do when they arrive, he agrees. He says, I'm going to go to Paradise, Pennsylvania with you guys because of this letter, because of this story you created. Let's go. Fuck it. Let's do it. Gets in there, and the first thing they do is hit a disabled guy on a horse.
A disabled deputy.
A deputy on a horse.
And it's the sheriff's son. And the sheriff pulls these strangers to the side and says, "Hey, guys, sorry. That's my son, and he's slow." But he's also a deputy. So I'm like, one, why would you tell strangers that? Two, why would you hire somebody in that for that position?
I mean, it turns out he'll deputize anybody. We find out later on.
You're right.
Like,
True.
Because the other dude is like, multiple, like you said, multiple people in this movie are
because this is
have
tiny
a disability.
It's tiny town USA, right? Nothing ever happens in these little cute little towns on TV. It's like you have a little town square. Everybody knows everybody.
Yeah.
They hold hands and sing Christmas carols during the whatever season.
You're right. You're right.
This is
supposed to be
the movie
wholesomeness.
in was it not Fletch, but what's the other movie that Chevy Chase is in, where the guy drives by and throws the mail at the mailbox, or
Funny Farm.
Funny Farm.
Funny
This is like
Farm.
the town in Funny Farm. This reminds me a lot of Funny Farm, the movie. Anyway, so right off the bat, when we get to Paradise, Pennsylvania, which is Trapped in Paradise, the movie's named after, a lot of disabled jokes right off the bat.
Yeah.
A lot of disabled people.
I think
Only one.
we're not supposed to
Three.
say disabled, right?
There's
are
a-
you
there's
not-
a-
You can't even say that anymore. I'm trying to say the
Challenge.
R
Mentally
word.
challenged.
yeah.
All right, sorry, a lot of challenge jokes. Because I can't say the word 2 words ago.
You know
Yeah.
what? I don't even know. I'm
No,
just gonna call them dum dums.
You can't do that.
No. Because like Dana Carvey, none of them. They were not challenged. They
No,
were
they're just playing,
they're just-
pretending it.
right.
Like,
And even the characters though have moments of like clear clarity. Also, every last one of them, and it's like there ain't nothing wrong with y'all.
does Dana Carvey ever have a moment of clarity?
He does when they're at the table and he's like he sides with Nick Cage. It's like
And wants to give the money
you're
back.
fucking fine.
Oh yeah,
He's
yeah,
like
yeah,
he's
yeah.
speaking normal. He's like, Nick Cage is right. It's,
I think that's true.
it's like the fucking dumb cop like saves everybody's life. It was like like it wasn't no fucking thing. Yeah. Anyway.
Also, that dumb deputy gets away with murder at the end.
Right.
I mean, I guess that's self-defense, but
Yeah.
we'll talk about that later. Anyway, we're in Paradise, Pennsylvania. The first thing that they notice is where this girl works that they're going to meet to tell that her prisoned dad wants to see her. It's in a bank, and we learn that these guys are probably pretty good bank robbers. They go inside of this bank, and I wrote they're attempting Bill with an easy bank because the signs are everywhere, like a sleeping security guard, an unplugged security camera, and it just like yokels.
Easy
Yeah.
pickings. Yep.
It's yokels. And the next thing I wrote down is, what is with this Nick Cage accent?
Dude, he's got
dude.
an accent too, and it's not good.
It's not
And
good.
it's not a New York accent, right?
No.
Like it's I don't know.
It's like
What
all
is
three
it? What is
brothers.
it?
All three brothers have the same mother but different accents.
all different heights, different builds, different facial features. It's not believable.
It's
I mean,
There's a lot of things in this is not believable.
Probably had a couple different dads there, maybe.
yeah.
Yeah. In this bank scene, we established that Dana Carvey Alvin will steal anything, and I wrote down the examples: the candy cane pins and ornaments. I guess a kleptomaniac. I've never been around one that needs to steal anything they see.
Anything. Yeah, it's kind of it was overplayed.
It
Yeah,
was
for
very
sure.
overplayed. I wrote I love Jon Lovitz because there's one scene where Dana Carvey is trying to eat a gingerbread man off the tree after he's stealing ornaments, and the bank manager makes him put it back, or the bank, I guess, assistant manager, which is the female lead in
The
this.
love interest. Yeah.
The love interest comes in, and she's very stern off the bat, and then Nick Cage woos her, and then Jon Lovitz swoops in and says some shit that I can't remember, but dude, I wrote I love Jon Lovitz.
Jon Lovitz is pretty awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, I did too.
Because he comes in and says some smooth shit.
Yeah,
And
complete confidence, and it's just so. It's also very schmoozy. I don't know. It's great.
then we learn that there's nothing in the bank, and then these cops walk in with 200 or whatever bank delivery dudes.
Brinks.
Walks in with $275,000 in cash and puts it in the. First of all, announces it really loud in the
Yeah.
bank.
Yeah.
Okay, who walks in and says, "What do you got for me today, guys?" $275,000. It sounded like painting unpainted Arizona. It's
Right.
like-
Yeah, and all the I wouldn't have been surprised if all the patrons in the bank started clapping.
so we learn that's the take,
funny.
right? We learn that's the take, and then these guys leave, and then the next note I have is, why is Nick Cage's whole thing put it back? Like everything we've seen so far is put it back.
Everything he steals.
No, anything Dana Carvey, like the money, put it back. Got him into that situation.
All of it.
The wallet, put it back. The like pins or whatever, or anything, put it back. I think the whole idea behind that is getting all three of them in trouble. I think if Nick Cage would have stuck to his guns and like really gone after this, none of this would have happened, right? Don't put it back. If Dana Carvey would have never got caught in that grocery store stealing all that money, right? If Nick Cage didn't get involved in that. So his conscience is really the fucking downfall of this entire movie.
I mean, well, yeah. I mean, he goes through with a bank robbery.
Okay, let's talk about that because the next thing I wrote after the put it back is it's bank robbing time, bitches.
I am so shocked about how quickly he turned and was like ready to rob the bank because he was like the straightforward guy, like wasn't like on the straight path, it seemed like, and then all of a sudden he was like, "We're robbing this bank. Like, let's go to the store and buy some ski masks and let's just do this fucking thing."
Guns in the trunk. All right, I guess I'm in.
Which is
there's grenades.
They go
That's
off.
right.
They switch cars out. They've got a fucking arsenal in the trunk. They're like they go buy ski masks. And some weird fucking 80s like sunglasses. I didn't understand it, but shit, they look cool.
Maybe it's all the snow.
And then it's bank robbing time, which is the longest bank robbery. Hold on, let me respond. Let me rephrase. This is the longest unresponsive bank robbery that has ever happened in the history of robbing banks. Again, unrealistic.
I mean, pre-cell phones.
Pre-cell phones.
And the cameras didn't work and no one rang the alarm.
Dumb cops run around town.
But honestly, you're not wrong. I mean, they walk across the street with guns out and like take a whole restaurant full of people hostage.
Rob a whole restaurant. Yeah, bring them to the bank.
Yeah, so
basically rob the whole fucking town.
That's it. Cage and Lovitz go in the bank. They find out there's no money in there, or that they don't have the key to the vault. And the bank manager or owner is across the street eating lunch. So they go across the street to the lunch and hold the lunch diner up.
Yeah.
To get him to come back across the street and bring the entire diner with them because they can't have witnesses.
So at this point, they essentially have the whole fucking town in the bank.
I said
a good portion of it.
I wrote, this is like the two dudes in Raising Arizona, the escaped convicts holding up those yokel banks. Like, they're so dumb.
Right.
Dude, it felt very much like that. You're right.
I said, and I put, this is the least responsive robbery of all time. They go to the restaurant, they go back to the bank, and then there's yoga involved. Like, Jon Lovitz is teaching a yoga class.
Because it took so long.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, here's the most unbelievable part to me. So they finally get this motherfucker to open the vault. They open the vault. Nick Cage sprays stuff for one of those like laser wires.
Yeah.
All right. And it's like, what? You unlocked it. Like, you have the keys. Why is there a tripwire on this thing? And he still sets it off. Like, he sprays for it, sees it, gets the bag, and still trips it.
Just by the edge of the bag. Like, he knew what he was doing going out, but he didn't realize how low the bag was going to hang. How much money was in it.
It was dumb.
Then we get in a crazy, like, Dana Carvey's a terrible getaway driver. Just leaves his own brothers 3 times.
And causes a giant wreck, which I made a note about, like 6 cars smashed into each other. Like, how close were those cars driving to each other to smash 6 cars smashing into each other?
In this tiny...
In a tiny, like, main street.
Yeah, town square.
Or they were going really fast. This is where we meet Richard Jenkins, because we have a robbed bank in a tiny town. Mm-hmm. And then I wrote, why the fuck is the FBI involved? It's a local bank robbery.
Banks,
because it was over $200,000. Because they made some note about that. The FDIC got like involved, or whoever insures like money over an X amount. There was a whole technical reason for the FBI to get involved.
I didn't realize that.
That's in real life.
On Christmas Eve.
Over a certain dollar amount, the feds get involved.
So then I put down.
I don't know if it would happen that fast though. I mean, feds in like same day. Like,
they brought in more federales than the fucking townspeople, dude. Did you see how many cop cars are driving around this place?
It's insane.
It's stupid. How could they not lock down this city?
I don't know.
if they wanted to. Anyway.
So these three brothers are rescued by the Bank family. I put, and I said, let's spend Christmas here. There are so many people involved at this point.
Right.
You have we learn about the sheriff, the local yokel sheriff,
Right.
and then we learn about his deputies who are just these idiots.
Yeah, anybody in the town that wanted to search for these bank robbers.
Yeah.
Then we learn about the FBI.
Yeah.
And then we still have this other story about these escaped convicts in New York.
Yeah, because the reason this whole bank was an easy setup is that Jon Lovitz and Dana Carvey learned of the score while in prison. So there's just an easy picking bank out there to rob, and they learned that in prison. So when they knocked it off, the gangsters that were gonna do it were like, "Oh hell no, we're going after the money."
Yeah. Which, I don't know. I kind of love that prison scene where he's telling the story. They're like, tell the story again. He's like, no, I don't want to tell the story. Like he's told the story about this bank 100 times. And everybody is like so riveted to it. They're like, what? No, they can't believe anything he's saying. Or they're acting like they can't believe what he's saying. Like,
And then you got the guy on the end that's like, hey, why don't you stop telling that story or somebody's going to like go rob that bank. And then this other guy's like, hey, do you know Vic? No way. He's killed like 13 dudes. Nobody's going to fucking rob his bank. And I'm like, he's in jail. Like, I would do it.
and then 2 seconds later, somebody comes up and says, hey, did you guys hear what happened?
man.
Somebody robbed that bank.
Was that city called Paradise?
It was clearly like this whole movie is just clearly
It's
laid
absurd.
out.
It's just absurd.
You don't have to think; they just tell you the whole time what's going on, and it's so long.
That guy may as well just hand him a key and be like, use the back door to get out.
Yeah, because we are not even probably halfway into the movie at this point, right?
Yeah. So that they escape.
We're not. They escape. They make it to Paradise, Pennsylvania.
Like it ain't nothing.
So now we got.
Actually, they make it to the mom's house and kidnap the mom. But yeah.
Okay, I forgot about that. They go kidnap the mom, who's the comic relief in this entire movie.
Okay.
Shout out to whoever that is.
Ernest P. Worrell.
Shout out to that.
Shout out to Jim Varney.
They bring her to Paradise. Then you got the deputies, you got the FBI, you've got these escaped convicts, you've got the three brothers who robbed the bank, you've got everybody in this little town. And I wrote it all. There's way too many people fucking involved, right? That's coming out of this Christmas that they just spent with this family, establishing like, I like you, you like me, we're all good people or whatever. And then they go into like the town square, and then the next thing I know, like one sees another, and they're almost getting caught, or the three brothers are almost getting caught. Nick Cage shoots a gun in open public in a tiny town. Like, grabs it off and just fires like boom, 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 boom,
Dude.
6 shots on the ground. That would be the biggest fucking news in this town in the last 50 years.
Besides a bank robbery.
Well, everybody does scatter, and like, I mean, yeah, that's true.
There was no guns in the bank robbery.
What do you mean there wasn't guns?
There were no shots.
No, maybe no shots.
There were 100 people in this scene, and he just like shooting at the ground to get them to scatter.
And they're surrounded by feds. The feds are there.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. How
the
they
dumbest feds on the planet, by the way.
Dude, I wrote that down. Like, this movie makes law enforcement looks terrible.
Yes.
Almost worse than Amos and Andrew.
Yeah.
And
Almost.
that's bad.
That's real bad.
Yeah.
Very non-PC.
The next thing I wrote down is, goddamn, there is a blizzard going on the entire time in this movie. Every single scene. How much fake snow do you think they went through?
It wasn't fake snow. It was fake snow, but it was like potato flake, like instant mashed potatoes, like potato flakes. And it was like
gross.
75,000 pounds or something like that.
What?
Go
Yeah,
back
it was
and watch that
something-
movie. I know
it was
y'all.
something insane like that.
I know y'all watched it once, but I watched it twice, and I was like, dude, every scene has a blanket of snow over the fucking camera. Every
Okay,
scene
you're right,
is
you're
snowing.
right, yeah.
Every single scene in this
That's
whole movie.
potatoes? Wow.
Yep.
I think I'd
Yeah,
get real
like
tired of that.
instant potatoes or something like
I
that.
got you. Okay.
All right, so the convicts get away from the shooting. So do the brothers. Nobody gets caught in the shooting, which is random that Nick Cage just opens fire and nobody gets busted. The next scene we see the convicts still have the mom, and they now are going to put the mom in the trunk
Locker
of the car.
In the trunk of the car.
And this is where I said the mom is the best, because her jokes are just like, you guys are idiots. Like,
She doesn't pull any punches.
No, but she still does what they say because they have guns.
Right. They're toughs.
But she is a comedic genius in this movie. So they put her in the trunk, and then I've got the next thing we see is the brothers escape in the boat. And this is the next unrealistic thing that we see. So everybody's on the run from this bank robbery, right? Mm-hmm. You've got escaped convicts in town. You've got the brothers who robbed the bank. We get in this boat, and Dana Carvey falls overboard, Alvin, in the movie. And I said he would be in like some sick shock from the cold water, because this is Pennsylvania at Christmas. Yeah. And he's floating down a river, and then he hits this rock, and he's there for a solid 2 minutes, which would be, in my opinion, dead or in shock or whatever. Mm-hmm. And then he's rescued by a dude who's like 75 years old, who's getting in the same freezing fucking water. Like, this is not believable at all. None of this.
It's ridiculous. Yeah, he's like fully clothed in like heavy winter clothes, falls in, just flows down the creek, or river or whatever. Yeah, that's so ridiculous. But I wrote down right after that, it was like the so cliche, like, get him back to the place, throw him down on the ground, start doing CPR on him, and he does the classic, like, spit out the water, and then he's back to life and just, like, 100% great. Like,
matter of seconds.
No repercussions at all for being passed out and not breathing for however many minutes that was. I mean, I guess this dude has already been established as having brain damage, maybe.
Just lay him in front of the fire to thaw him out.
See,
get him to spit up that water.
This movie's full of just like comedic mistakes and missteps and what have you. But this is probably the biggest mistake when Jon Lovitz and Nick Cage just didn't let him drown.
And this is where shit just it takes me a minute sometimes.
It went right through you, but it's okay.
It did. This is where this movie just completely accelerates, right? And you realize you still have 42 minutes left.
Dude, so long.
I fell asleep right around here because I remember I texted you guys because I fell asleep and I woke up, no idea where I was in the movie. I just paused it and I still had 45 minutes left. And I was like, guys, I fell asleep. I have to finish it tomorrow. This put me out.
So the three brothers are still trying to get out of the town, and now they're stealing a horse and a sleigh from I guess I can't say it anymore, challenged guy.
It's the same guy. It's the same deputy or whatever.
That's his horse and sleigh. He's like the little Christmas or elf or Santa dude.
Right.
They're just letting this guy do whatever he wants because he's challenged.
And he's a deputy.
And his name's Jimmy, by the way. So Jimmy gets his horse and sleigh stolen, and I put, it's a sleigh chase, and this is maybe a highlight of the movie. It's like these cops and FBI agents can't even get a horse and a sleigh.
So there is like when the FBI... Is this the part when the FBI agent like shoots out the tire of that deputy, like when they're getting ready to like go on the chase or whatever, which is wildly reckless in and of itself. And then
correct.
Then they're chasing afterwards, and it's like the most brutal car wreck when their car crashes into the tree. I don't know if you guys remember that, but it's like serious wreck, and it's just like they're all fine afterwards.
Okay, so let me say this. If you go back and watch that exact scene, when they run that car into the tree, there is only one person in that car.
And it's a different car. I've rewound it like multiple times.
Damn.
And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, you should thank your stuntmen out there because they are out there wrecking cars into poles for you.
Yeah, and that would... I don't care, stuntman or no. I don't care what kind of seatbelt you got on. That would fuck you up, man.
No doubt. I do want to make a note real quick. Before they stole the horse, right? Didn't Nick Cage make a pass at the female? he made like a hard pass, and she was like, "No,
Yeah.
man, I'm good. Thanks, but no thanks." Like,
Yeah.
I know you're a thief. Like,
I guess she gets
why
lost
you-
in this. I forgot the bank.
right? Because the story's stupid, but he makes a pass at her in a cemetery, and like she's like, "Oh, whoa, no, I'm sorry. It's not like that. I'm not into you, but thanks, but no thanks." I just need to make a note of that because it comes back later. All right. So
Well, I know
anyway,
it comes back
all right,
later.
But anyway,
I guess I've completely forgot the love interest
You
in this.
should.
Because the pacing of this movie is so off, like that it's easy to forget about her because
Yeah.
there's
And
so
they
much
don't-
other shit going on, like
she has
constantly.
They
little
also
involvement.
don't bring her up that much. She's
Yeah.
maybe like
She's
her and
irrelevant
Nick
to the
Cage
story.
have 4 total interactions.
Exactly.
And then they fall in
And then
love
they're
at
in
the end.
love. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. He made a pass, and she's like, "Whoa," which I applauded at the time. I was like, "Good for you," because this motherfucker is a stranger. And by the end of it, though, they've had 0 interaction since. She's like,
And each
"You want to
interaction
start a life together?"
Just because he gives the money back.
Yeah. Like, hey, yeah, you're my fella.
You're right. Each interaction might have been like 2 minutes long.
Maybe.
Yeah.
So they've spent a total of, 8 minutes together, and then at the end they end up together.
Starting a life together.
Anyway, they get away with the sleigh chase somehow in some random field. They go to the interstate. They think this is it. They're escaping Paradise, Pennsylvania. And then the horse falls in the fucking lake. And
Yeah.
it's like,
And then
oh,
there's
here's
that
another thing that draws them back in.
Yep, moral compass. He's like, can't let the horse drown.
This is where we see Jon Lovitz's first moral compass of the movie because he can't let the horse drown. And he comes back, and he's been cheating everybody this whole time. I think we start to see everybody start to switch right here when the horse falls in the water.
Okay.
Because the next thing we're going to see is the diner. They get the horse out of the water. Horse goes on. They go to the diner. They're drying off. They're eating. And then Nick Cage, again, for the 17th time in this movie, wants to put the money back. Or put something back.
Makes
put
a
it back.
firm. He makes a firm stand. He tells the brothers, "I'm putting the money back. Like, I've fallen in love with this place. The people are good. I'm gonna put the money back." And Dana Carvey sides with him.
We get Dana Carvey's normal side.
Right.
So, and it's not even just that. There was so many things. They found out the bank was going to go out of business because they robbed
Sure.
it. All
Yeah.
the money that they stole was everybody's Christmas savings that they were had been saving up for X amount of time, which I don't know why they
Yep.
were taking it out on Christmas Eve or whatever. Like you think
Too
you would
late.
Get, yeah.
Yep.
You think you would get out beforehand. But there was so many things leading up to his change of heart.
No, agreed. There a lot going on in this movie, almost too much. They could have made this movie 6 hours long.
Dude, our
Or-
podcast is going to be 6 hours long
Yeah.
because it's fucking movie.
Or
Right.
it could be a mini series.
No.
This could have aired on ABC over Christmas in '94, 3 weeks in a row. There's just a lot going on in this, and that's why you'd think a lot going on means it doesn't last that long, or it doesn't feel like it's that long. But man, this is a lot going on, and it feels like that long because there's too much. There's too many characters in this movie. There's too much to keep up with because they have to make time for all of them.
Well,
right?
it lacks so much substance. They keep adding things to it, I feel like, to drive the story, and it's stupid.
So we got Bill going back to Paradise to take the money back.
Again.
Dana Carvey agrees with them. Jon Lovitz doesn't agree with them. Goes out and accidentally gets in the escaped convict's car
With his mother in the trunk.
with his mom in the
Yeah.
trunk at this point, and doesn't even know. And somehow it unearths while they're riding down the road. Pulls out a picture of his mom out of his wallet.
Yeah.
Shows the escaped convicts, and they realize they have her in the trunk. So they pull out a gun and start shooting at him.
Right.
And then all of a sudden, this sleigh and this fucking horse show back up.
And then and then the Beverly Hills cop shows back up and kidnaps him. They end up back at the banker's house where you got the family, the gangsters.
Oh, first,
The
hold on.
deputies.
First, they try to put the money back in the bank.
Oh, they do. Yeah,
They go
try
to the bank. They try to put the money back in, but they set the alarm off again, which
gonna go
sends the
back to
FBI out
sleep.
to the bank. Then they,
Man, I don't know. Too
Then
tired.
when they can't put the money back in the bank, they go to the church and they put it on the front steps.
Yeah.
And then
Which I don't know why they didn't just leave it in the bank.
Just
they were
leave-
right there, like leave it right outside the vault. Like, why do you have to go?
Right. Why not just leave it? Just leave it fucking there.
And
Yeah.
then I
Lock
wrote
the front door.
There is way too much going on in this movie at this point. So, old boy, take it away because you are absolutely right. I've got FBI, local cops, deputy idiots, escaped convicts. This movie goes off the rails right at this point.
Yeah. So they're all in the banker's house, and I don't know.
It's Christmas.
Yeah, it's Christmas, but the gangsters are like, or the escaped convicts are holding the family hostage. So the brothers are like pleading for their lives, like, hey, these are good people, blah, blah, blah. So you think the banker and the family are like, oh, these guys, they did rob us, but they're trying to do the right thing. So
And the chief of police's challenged son is there too for some reason.
yeah, the other deputy, and he ends up shooting one of them. The feds raid the place. Everybody gets arrested. They take them downtown and interrogate. They take the whole fucking city downtown and interrogate everybody, the brothers, everybody, in front of everybody.
I said, why is the whole town allowed into the police station after a shooting in a small town, which probably never happens?
And interrogated
the whole town.
suspects.
Yeah.
And I also wrote down this whole movie happens in one day. These convicts
That's a good point.
escape from a fucking prison in New York and go to Pennsylvania. And all of this is going on in one day on Christmas Eve in Paradise, Pennsylvania.
almost
But you're
like it's
right.
a-
Why is the whole fucking town allowed in the police station?
I don't know.
Again, the thieves are exonerated. And I wrote love story ending, roll credits because I'm done with this.
I mean, basically, like the townspeople won't rat on the brothers because they realize after all of this shit that they're quote,
good guys.
They're quote good people.
Yeah.
And
Forgiveness.
I mean,
Forgiveness.
yeah, I don't understand. Maybe it's not because the dragnet was like closing in on them and they couldn't escape with the buddy. Like it gave it back. Like it's dumb.
They all vouch for him, and then Richard Jenkins steps in and is like, I can't remember. I
He's
don't
like,
know what
"Oh,
his like agent name is, but he steps in and is just like, you guys got lucky. This whole city is vouching for you, and you're free to go.
Exactly.
Like,
dude.
it's
He
so
makes him
fucking
lean
stupid,
in. He's
like-
like, you got to promise me you won't ever do this again. And I'm like, what the fuck kind of FBI agent
Everybody
is this?
get in here. Get in here. I need to talk to you close. It's like a coach talk.
All right, then we're sending Alvin, Dave, and the mom back on the Greyhound out of Pennsylvania on Christmas Day.
Back to New York.
And then the love interest and Nick Cage fall in love after 8 minutes of being together through this whole movie.
Yeah, all of a sudden she's like, well, she's super into him. Like
All roads
oh,
are
man.
open, baby.
Do you think that was a euphemism?
I think so. Because
makes sense,
earlier in the movie, he talked about backing up the road he was on and going down a different path.
Back that thing
And
up.
then at the end, she said she pointed towards the sign that said all roads are open.
I mean-
So I got that.
I did not get that.
I was thinking a euphemism for sex.
I thought so too. That's
Yeah.
what I was
It's like. She's like, listen, man, all roads are open, brother.
Yeah.
Y'all are
I did-
hoping for a different movie
Yeah,
at that
I did
point.
not get the I did not get the metaphorical meaning of that, or that sense.
All right, credits roll, and we are finally out of our 9.5 hours of watching Trapped in Paradise.
Yeah.
Because
Trapped in this movie.
trapped in this
fucking
movie. It seems like that. It's a lot.
I do like how Dana Carvey stole 2 paydays.
Three.
From the
Three. His mom pulled one out of his jacket. and he
paydays
had
before
three.
he
I think
they
the
left the town, which
the
is great.
best jokes that happened on this movie were in that Greyhound bus.
Agreed. Agreed.
Honestly, and like we had to go through the whole movie to see that, and maybe I just knew it was about to end, so I was like,
You were giddy.
yes, I was like, yes, it's almost over. What do you got left? And then like Dana Carvey busts out the finale, like we're not attracted to each other.
Yeah.
It's some funny shit.
Yeah. It's all right.
Anyway, all right. So let's get into it. We've just reviewed Trapped in Paradise, the 1994 film starring Nick Cage and 2 of your favorite SNL characters. We've got a couple of segments we like to do with these reviews. One is movie marriage. It's where we take two movies, we marry them together, they get together
and produce this movie
and spit out this movie, right? Mm-hmm. What influenced the movie Trapped in Paradise? I'll go first this week. I've got, and I mentioned this before, Just Friends, because of a small town, and I've got the movie Bottle Rocket.
Oh, wow.
So, like, idiot, like, robbers that just can't figure it out. I was trying to match up two things, like Christmas and dumb people, or dumb robbers.
Damn, I haven't thought about Bottle Rocket in forever.
You did a good job there.
That's the first Wes Anderson film, right?
Yeah, I think so. My movie marriage is Raising Arizona. Mm-hmm. There's some things that bank robbery scene, dumb criminals, with Red Rock West, because to produce the afterbirth of this movie, because they keep coming back.
They keep trying to escape paradise,
and they keep coming back, just like in Red Rock West. And
5 times they come back to that.
Yeah, and he's got a moral compass, right, trying to do the right thing. So I think it's that's my movie marriage. 2 other Nick Cage movies, and they had this aborted fetus.
Okay.
So mine is Dog Day Afternoon for the bank robbery aspect.
I like that.
And Dumb and Dumber, because this movie was dumb and dumber.
Okay. Wait, not
Dog Day Afternoon was just one long bank scene.
It's true. Not great. The movie Dumb and Dumber, just the title.
No, the movie Dumb and Dumber, I guess.
Yeah,
but I don't know. This movie was dumb.
It's a good marriage.
It seems right. All right, so the next thing we do on Casting Cage when we're reviewing Nick Cage movies is tagline. That's where we take the original tagline for the movie Trapped in Paradise, and we make our own taglines based on what we think would sell to audiences on movie posters, on previews, and to the public. So, Juicebox, what is the tagline for Trapped in Paradise?
So there were actually 3 taglines to this.
What?
Yeah, right? That's way too many taglines, but this movie was way too long, so it kind of makes sense. Should I read all 3 of them?
Give me a couple of them.
Trapped in Paradise. The story of a town that gave so much, even these guys couldn't take anymore.
Wow.
Trapped in Paradise. The Furpo brothers can get away with anything. They just can't get away.
Okay.
That feels like it was written by... I don't know. That didn't feel right.
All right, give me the third one then.
Trapped in Paradise. Small town, big trouble.
I feel like that's been used for multiple things.
Yeah.
For Big Trouble Little China.
Yes, that's exactly what I thought about. All right, old boy, what do you got for a tagline?
Trapped in Paradise. Something tells me I got jammed. That was a Richard Jenkins. He was he made that comment, I think.
Trapped in Paradise. Put it back, Dave. I'm trying to channel my best Nick Cage impression.
You gotta do better than that, man.
See, all I have is Trapped in Paradise. You're not getting that time back.
I know. I've got one. All right. The best joke of this movie was actually one I made up, and it was about because I kept sitting there and I'd be watching this. I'd just be fucking like zoned out, like this is dumb, and I would laugh to myself thinking, man, Jon Lovitz, Dana Carvey, and Nick Cage probably here in about a month or two are gonna get a royalty check for like 10 cents. For this fucking movie, they're gonna be like, "Who the fuck watched it?"
That's hilarious.
They're like, "Man, some idiot out there just rented that movie. I can't believe."
From Amazon. Speaking of that, you can get this on Amazon for $3.99 for a 48-hour rental. And this is what we sacrifice to bring to you Bucky's Basement series Casting Cage.
Hold on. So I've got a tagline for that. Trapped in Paradise, still making royalties in 2024.
It's true.
30 years later.
I'm going to make a big push to have Trapped in Paradise re-added to the Christmas lineup of like TNT and TBS.
It should be reconsidered. You're right.
You should. The most overlooked. You fucking are arguing about if Die Hard's a Christmas movie. This spells Christmas. They say Christmas Eve like
they sing Christmas
times.
songs.
They sing Christmas songs.
I know, man, but I'm telling you, whatever group gets together to vote on this, on what makes it and what doesn't, has clearly banned this one, rightfully so.
All right,
yeah, to the point of 10% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Yes.
All right. So before we get on to our ratings, because we know you guys. We know that that's what you guys want to hear, right? As our ratings on this, we want to plug a couple of things. One, feel free to go to buckysbasement.com. We actually have a website. It's awesome. Go to it. You can find us on YouTube. If you're listening to us right now, these episodes release actually one day early, so you can beat the rest of the crowds to the punch. And on Monday morning, when they are listening to that shit on, their mid-morning at break or whatever, you can say, I listened to this on Sunday night and I know exactly what's going to happen. So now you're waiting for them to listen to it so you guys can talk about it in the break room. Also, speaking of that, on Monday morning, grab you a cup of Deca Gray coffee. Go to DecaGray.com. DecaGray.com. We actually have a promo code. It's Bucky's Base. They couldn't fit the munt in there, but if you go to Bucky's BASE, you can get some kind of discount there. Go to DecaGray.com. They'll deliver coffee directly to your door or to your work, whatever. But before we get into our ratings for the 1994 movie Trapped in Paradise, Juicebox, what else was at the theater at that time? What else could we have gone to see that wasn't this 2-hour debacle? Would this have seemed as long in the theater? Because this came out in November.
I don't know. No, it came out December 2nd, so it came out like Christmas time.
See, and why is it not a Christmas movie?
Because it barely deserves to be a movie.
So here's what it was up against: the number one movie that week, The Santa Claus.
That's
what with Tim Allen?
Yeah,
killed this movie,
which had already been out for 4 weeks though, but still drew in $11 million on its fourth week, which is pretty wild.
All right, so you can't compete with the OG Tim Allen Santa Claus.
Number 2 movie was Star Trek Generations, which I guess was like the next generation Star Trek movie. I don't know much about Star Trek.
Maybe.
Junior, which was
another classic Christmas movie with Arnold, right?
It was not. No, that was Jingle All the Way, you idiot. That Junior was not. I think it was Arnold.
Yeah, Junior was. I don't know what Junior was.
You're fucking second guessing. You're like, fuck, was it a Christmas movie?
I don't know what Junior was. I feel like it was an Arnold Schwarzenegger movie. Is it?
I think so. It's where Arnold has a baby.
Oh, it's that movie. Okay.
Yeah, classic Christmas movie.
Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles. Was that like a sequel to Interview with the Vampire?
I don't know. It sounds like a bad week for movies.
A Low Down Dirty Shame, which that was a
Wayans brother movie.
Yeah, Wayans brother movie. The Lion King. Then Trapped in Paradise. So number 7 that week. Trapped in Paradise. It opened with a $2.7 million opening.
I mean, Lion King had to have been out for forever by then, right?
Lion King had been out for 25 weeks.
Exactly.
It felt like a summer movie.
I think we're realizing that if you release a movie in like November or early December, you probably got a leg up on the competition, because that's not very much that you just read off compared to what we're usually reviewing and the movies that you tell us about. And you're like, hey, it competed with this and this and this. And we're like, we get it.
It was 94, so Pulp Fiction was still in the theaters, and Forrest Gump was still in the theaters. Those both finished below it, but those were still options to see in the theater.
That was back when, and I say this to the day, I'm pretty sure Jurassic Park was in a theater for the entire year, right? Because it was still making money.
I mean, 6 months at least.
It was like a Barbie Oppenheimer type.
Forrest Gump, same thing.
Same thing.
Now shit goes to streaming. You didn't have that back then, right? So you
less
ride
likely.
out the theater, and you wouldn't get it on video until the whole next year.
Yeah, it was. You had more longevity in theaters back then.
That's true. All right, so let's get on with this. Trapped in Paradise, 1994. I'm gonna let old boy go first. What is your rating?
Fuck this movie.
Yeah, okay. Juicebox.
Sometimes we don't both hit it at the if we have the same rating, but
I wish I could hit it again. Yeah, I wish I could.
this movie was painful to get through, man. And I know, like, Jon Lovitz had his part, had his moments or whatever. And I think Nick Cage, honestly, I think Nick Cage did a fine job in this movie.
Really?
Like, I don't know.
Kind of without the accent. The accent
Sure.
is driving me crazy.
Sure, the accent was not there, but I don't know. He was trying to carry this movie, and and one of the things I saw on IMDb, which take it with a grain of salt because it's on IMDb, was according to Jon Lovitz, director George Gallo did not actually direct much and told the cast to do whatever they wanted. According to Lovitz, Nick Cage actually directed some of the film because Gallo refused to give direction.
Jeez.
Gallo was in the movie too. He was the judge who sentenced him in the beginning.
Okay.
Gallo was in his own film.
And he didn't care about directing it, apparently.
Also, Nick Cage loves cigarettes, dude.
Dude, I wrote that down too,
know.
man. So many cigarettes in this movie.
He does. All right, I'm the final one to give the rating, and I am not going to agree with you guys.
I'm a little wired, and I think I deserve a little appreciation.
I'm going middle of the road. It's not the best movie.
You're a schmuck.
It's not the worst movie. The first pass through was super long. The second pass through was tolerable at times.
Did you watch it on 2.5 speed?
I love No, I did not. I love I love Jon Lovitz. I love Nick Cage's mom, their mom in this movie. I love fucking Richard Jenkins
You
for
said
some
you
reason.
loved Dana Carvey. Who did you not love?
This movie is 30 minutes too long.
You
take
missed-
30
Absolutely.
minutes out of this, and it is a solid film. If you take, honestly, if I'm thinking back on it, if I take the fucking yokel deputies out of this movie and just take them out of the equation,
Yeah.
this movie moves along faster. Maybe you take the fucking escaped convicts out of this equation. I don't care.
I think you could have taken that whole thing out of the equation.
So you take two whole groups out of this equation, and you've got a solid Christmas movie that would be playing on TBS to this day. You take Dana Carvey and maybe tweak his role a little bit, but the second pass through, I liked him. I did. I can't.
Sure. But you're saying that people need to watch this movie 2 times through to even be able to think it's middle of the road.
Fuck you.
All right. This is another crazy episode. You know what? Fuck you guys. All right, I've changed it. Now we're all in agreement. All
We
right,
weren't
don't
trying to-
watch Trapped in Paradise because you know what?
I really thought you were going to hit the best rating.
Because you know what? Ain't
I
gonna
was
happen.
scared.
All right, so here's the deal. We have just gone through. That's my decision. We've gone through 3 fucks, which is 3 of the lowest ratings on Nick Cage. Would you believe me if I told you the very next film that we see Nick Cage in, he wins an Academy Award for Best Actor?
It is the next one?
It is
It's
the-
Leaving Las Vegas is the next
We're
one?
out of 94. The very first movie of 1995 that Nick Cage makes is Leaving Las Vegas, where he wins an Academy Award for Best Actor. I have not seen this movie, I'm going to say, probably all the way through ever. And
I've never
am
seen it.
fucking pumped. Like, Elizabeth Shue, are you kidding me? That's like my childhood,
Crush.
Karate Kid, Adventures in Babysitting, and now she plays a whore. Like,
Did you see they made a new? No, never mind. I'm sorry.
no, and she's in that Val Kilmer movie. He's a assassin or something.
Yeah, what is
like,
that movie? I like that movie. What is it?
The Saint.
The
Yeah,
Saint.
The Saint.
Yeah, she's in The Saint too.
I
Elizabeth
thought
Shue
about that movie
apparently is nominated for
For her role?
Yeah, for her role.
Good for her.
So this next movie is, and it also sets the catalyst for the the Nick Cage of the future.
Yeah,
right?
we're getting into some good stuff.
We go leaving Las Vegas. He wins an Academy Award. After that, he gets cast in The Rock. He gets cast in Face Off. He gets cast in Con Air. He gets cast. I mean, these are boom, boom, boom. So now we are in motherfucking blockbuster Nick Cage.
Jerry
We
Bruckheimer,
finally
yeah.
made it out of crazy Nick Cage, out of 80s Nick Cage, out of fucking, what do we call it? Simple
Art house Nick Cage.
Art house Nick Cage, friendly Nick Cage, the last 1994.
Coppola Nick Cage.
It could happen to you and Guarding Tests and Trapped in Paradise. And now we're Academy Award winning Nick Cage. Next time we're on this Casting Cage episode. And then we're into blockbuster land. And I can't fucking wait for blockbuster
And like
land.
rom-com and stuff
It's
like
all
that,
like
too. It's
Michael
all that
Bay
stuff.
and
Michael
George
Bay.
Bruckheimer and
Yeah, all that stuff. All
Every-
right.
Jerry Bruckheimer.
Yeah.
George Bruckheimer's brother.
George Lucas and Jerry Bruckheimer and whoever else wanted to cast this megastar, because he was only a megastar from 1995 to, I'm going to say, 2000.
Sounds about right.
So anyway, we thank you each and every week for listening to us on Bucky's Basement. We enjoy doing these episodes. We enjoy watching Nick Cage movies. We encourage you to get out and watch anything Nick Cage was in, specifically
Not Trapped in Paradise.
Leaving Las Vegas, because that is the next thing that we're going to review, and you want to be brushed up on that. Go back and watch Honeymoon in Vegas, because that
Sure.
might prepare you for leaving Las Vegas. We don't know.
Maybe
There's
it's
a
a
lot of
continuation.
correlations here. This is the Nick Cage multiverse that we are in. We look forward to seeing actors we've seen before, actors we haven't seen. And as
Richard Jenkins.
always, we're going to get out of here. Go to buckysbasement.com. Follow us at Bucky's Basement wherever you're on social media. And
Tell your mama and them.
Oh, holy night, stars are brightly shining. It is the night of our dear Savior's birth. Long lay the world in sin and error hide, till he appeared, and the soul felt its worth. A thrill of hope, the weary world rejoicing, for yonder breaks a new and glorious morn. Fall on your knees. Oh, hear the angels' voices. Oh, night divine. Oh, night when Christ was born. Oh, night divine.